Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Magic and Miracles, where you learn how to be the magician of your life. My name is Anna, and I'm your manifestation coach. All the information from me is below. I mainly coach in audio exchange, which we exchange back and forth between you and I while you tell me your story. We cover everything in my coaching, starting from your childhood, how you grew up, your parents. Everything is very important to me because I really have to understand who you are, what kind of blueprints you're coming with. And blueprint means simply belief system that you've acquired during the time that you were growing up. It's important, it's of paramount importance. It's the most important thing. While everybody is really kind of like obsessing on the internet about manifestation techniques and this and that, I want to tell you it's a profound fucking waste of time if you haven't done the work on yourself. And for people who really don't get that, it's going to be really, really frustrating. And my job here as a coach is to explain to those people who really don't understand that. In my coaching, I recommend at least a month. This is the absolute minimum to go over anything that really blocks you. Now, within about 2 to 3 audio exchanges, I usually know what the problem is. Whether this person is going to be receptive towards what I have to say, that's another story. Most people are. Once in a while, I encounter a person or two in my coaching who really resist me. They try to make it look like everything's hunky-dory. Well, if everything was hunky-dory, my darling, you wouldn't be in coaching and you wouldn't be having problems. So I ask, if you sign up for my coaching, please come humble, please be sincere and honest. Everything is confidential, obviously, and of course, I never disclose any details or names, anything at all about my clients to anybody. This is obviously necessary in coaching. So anything you share with me stays between you and myself. The idea is not to sugarcoat. The idea, right, is to address the fucking issues. So please, if you're signing up for my coaching, first of all, the month is minimum for me to identify what to work on, right? Realistically speaking, you really need to spend at least 2 to 3 months to really complete the process because, basically everybody comes with a story. You need to tell me everything in detail. I'm interested in every single detail about who you were dating, how you grew up, what were your parents like, what were your siblings like. Everything really, really matters because, again, this is your background. This is your blueprint. Okay, people who succeed in coaching, first of all, don't argue with the coach. Okay, don't rush through it and really take direction well. If you think you're going into coaching with me or thinking about going into coaching with me just to learn how to manifest, that is not what I do. That I save towards the end of my coaching, which of course we'll go over. But once you do the work on yourself, the manifestation part is easy. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? So instead of focusing on a quick fix, why don't you do what you're supposed to do once and for all and help yourself out and not, have these unrealistic expectations of achieving some hoopla result in an unreasonable amount of time, if you really want to do this right. Now, if you don't, I really advise you to go somewhere else because this is not what I do. Okay, I take my job as a coach extremely seriously. I spend an inordinate amount of time on audios that you record for me. One audio is 20 minutes max, and we go back and forth exchanging. My personal audios are usually more than 20 minutes because I analyze everything that you have said to me and give you a really really thorough analysis. So my coaching fee is actually quite discounted for the amount of time I spend with every client. Now, again, if that's not what you want to do, if that's not the kind of like service you seek, please, there are coaches that, charge $10,000 a month, or, even more than that. I just, created this coaching specifically for the good people of YouTube, so that you can enjoy what I do with some of my well-known clients, some of my celebrity clients who pay me like triple the amount. And not to brag, but I just had the realization that there are people out there that do need help and maybe can't afford that price tag that I have for other clients. So just understand what I deliver and what it really is that I do, okay, before you sign up for my coaching. Now, my Cash App is fixed. You can use my Cash App now. All that it was is somebody, I guess, took a picture of my card and went on a shopping spree. So that's fixed, but I would recommend using my website. And on my website, you'll find there's 2-week unlimited, monthly unlimited, and then monthly unlimited complete, which is mostly phone calls. Each package does include telephone calls. Now, the reason I offer 2 weeks, right, is because sometimes people sign up for 2 weeks and then they want to extend it right after. I recommend that you pre-book it 2 or 3 months at a time, because my schedule is rather crazy. And so if you really want to secure a coaching with me, this is just the business side. You're just going to have to pre-book. That's it. Otherwise, I don't take your intentions seriously. You really need to stick with the program. And like I said, the people in my coaching who excelled at their results really took my direction, really stuck with it, and, weren't arguing with me or, taking periods of time in between and this and that. This is not a serious intention as far as I'm concerned. You really need to be prepared to spend, some amount of time with me. And like I said, 2 to 3 months is the realistic time for you to walk away at the end of it and really enjoy the benefits of it. That's just the truth and the end of it, period. I also do offer a seminar for 10 people. We could do this via Zoom. I've already done a ton of those. Or in person if you're in New York. I really prefer New York, if that's okay. I'm not responsible for, any kind of capacity of any renting room or anything. This is on you. And my fee is on my website just for showing up and delivering the seminar. Okay, for up to 10 people. There's also a crash course for 1. This is if you want to do the entire process by yourself. There's an audio, and then, it also includes 2 hours of phone call with me. Obviously, other than outside the 2 hours on the phone with me with your questions, you don't get to interact with me. And I also have the course for coaches, whoever wants to become a manifestation coach. I teach them what basically I do with all my clients. Now, there's also a telephone call for an hour if you'd like to correspond with me and decide for yourself if you'd like to hire me full-time. There you go. This is your chance to, decide if I'm your right kind of coach. And, if you can't afford coaching, I have like a gajillion videos on YouTube. So, obviously I'm being super generous with everybody and really trying to help, as many people as I can. And again, my coaching is my personality, and my coaching is very direct. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything for you. I am assuming that you're coming to me for help. And it's not help if I'm going to sugarcoat things for you or try to be your friend. I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make, differences in people's lives. That's what it really is. So if you're, offended by anything I say, I mean, you're not ready for the change. You're just not. You're not ready, for the truth. And that's just all there's to it. When you book coaching with me, please sign the agreement. It's very self-explanatory. It just really means that you have to be respectful. I'm not a therapist, and you don't get to bombard me. It's pretty to the point, for reasonable people. All right. Thank you. Today's subject is how to download the frequency of the new reality. Okay. So again, parenthesis here, this is provided you've done the work already. And this is for people who are already advanced, basically. So basically everything exists on a frequency, right? You guys know this. And so if you're really interested in changing your reality, the frequency you're on right now is not where you want to be. This frequency is determined, like where you are right now is determined by the kinds of messages you're sending out to the universe. If I'm a person who's got beliefs that are blocking them, that don't let you believe that you can even change the frequency, that are sending out messages such as, I don't know how it's going to become what I want it to become. I don't know if I'm worthy. I don't know that it could even change. I don't know where it's going to come from. You're blocking yourself from receiving all the good stuff that you want on another frequency. Because in order to transition to the new frequency, you really have to examine your beliefs. The dialogue that you're having with yourself on a daily basis consists of your beliefs. And beliefs are things that are so entrenched in your subconscious mind that unless you really do the work, and preferably with the help of a coach, you don't even know what they are. You've downloaded them on such a deep level that it's just an automatic pilot. You just go on through your day talking to yourself this way, not even realizing how you affect your reality and your frequency. And so your beliefs translate then into the feelings you carry around with yourself during the day. Now, certain things can happen to different people, right, throughout the day. Some pleasant, some not so pleasant. But a person with a healthy belief system, if something negative happens to them, they turn around and say, okay, yeah, this sucks, but I can change it. I don't have to accept this as a final result. But if you just accept it and you say, well, this is just my luck, la, 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 this is how it's going to be, you just accepted it because of your belief system. And your belief system is going to prevent you from accepting a different outcome. It's as simple as that. Depending on your blueprint, essentially, you view things in a different way. You can identify the things that are not working in your life, but then you decide to change them. And the way to change them is to acquire a new frequency. What does a new frequency mean? Allowing yourself to access the parallel reality through different ideas. You deliberately start changing your mind and start catching yourself like, wait a minute, why did I just say that? I don't want to believe this. I don't want to feel this way. This doesn't have to be the end result. This could just be a journey. And I can change this reality in my favor completely. And so this work is in stages, which is why I do recommend spending the amount of time that it really takes in my coaching instead of just galloping towards the manifestational techniques, which will not serve you in the end. They will not, because the blueprint will override them. It's as simple as that. Why do you think there's so many people out there and say, oh yeah, you know what, this manifestation stuff, it just doesn't work. This law of attraction stuff, it just doesn't work. No, it doesn't work for you. It does work, but it just doesn't work for you because you haven't done the work on yourself. It's as simple as that. It has to happen in stages. You can't just jump there it will be overwhelming for you. You have to get a sense of, first of all, the kind of frequency you want to emit now instead of the previous one. What kind of results do you want to achieve, and how would that feel? I mean, Neville talks about feeling is the secret ad nauseum because it is true. A feeling, a frequency is the same thing. Frequency is a feeling. It corresponds to a certain kind of reality. And so at first, when you imagine what you want, the kind of outcome, reality, whatever, SP, money, la, 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 it will be overwhelming for you because you're used to dysfunction. You're used to something, not being the way that you want it to be. And so at first, when you imagine, when you visualize anything at all, right? SP coming back or changing the way that you want them to be, or just attracting a new SP, or the house that you really want or wanted for a while, or the sum of money. It comes with a frequency, right? So if right now I gave you $1,000,000 or whatever is a sum of money that you really wanted, you would feel elated probably, right? I can't imagine a person under the sun who wouldn't be elated. And so this comes with a frequency. This elation is frequency that will download that $1,000,000 completely. Unless you start, regurgitating your past beliefs and this and that, you are going to attract a way where this $1,000,000 is going to come to you without manipulating anything or anyone. You don't have to run around and look for it. It's just going to come on that frequency. Same thing like when people chase their SPs and become a little bit, kind of obsessed and this and that in the most unhealthy way. This is not how creation works. The frequency will pull that result in. You have to change your frequency so that you can rise yourself to the higher level of that reality. That's just physics, all right? Physics, which is why it's so important to work on yourself, because when you do the work on yourself, like I said, you don't need to run around. You don't need to convince anybody. You don't need to ponder how it will come and this and that and the other. You will just attract a way that is going to just come to you. Okay? It will come to you. Yet you just need to decide what you need to manifest for you to be happy. So miracles really happen when you take the time to dream. And this might sound like so cliche, but it's actually the truth. So-called miracles, manifestations, happen when you take the time to dream, i.e. visualize, ponder on what it would feel like to have this outcome. So you're dialing in like on a telephone to that frequency, and you're starting to absorb little by little this frequency of corresponding that will flash that desire out. If you're on the frequency of fear, you're not going to download that frequency. If you're on a frequency of joy and excitement, then you will have that manifestation, because that's how you would feel once it's here. But also on that level, the situation transforms. It just goes from one world to another. It's just physics. Everything kind of looks the same, but yet the events change. The outcome changes. Better things come to life. Like you're still kind of like the same person, more or less. You look like the same person. You know the same people. Maybe you even have the same job, but suddenly things start really unfolding in a way that you wanted them to unfold. And that's because you changed your frequency. You changed the world you live in, okay? It kind of goes like shelves a little bit. That's kind of like a bad analogy, but nevertheless, it works. You have to be on the higher shelf to have, better goodies. On the higher shelf, there's like caviar and champagne. On the lower frequency, there's just, whatever, McDonald's, something. Anyway. So, in addition to this, I'd like to encourage you not to settle. If you settle, and you say, okay, on this frequency where I am, I only know that this outcome can happen. But what if you're completely confused about that? What if on a higher frequency, anything is possible? Because it is. Because it is. In your view, on the level that you're on right now, you can't see what can happen on a higher level. It's impossible. First of all, you're kind of in a funk. You're conditioned to think a certain way. But if you can just open your brain up a little bit and start inviting new ideas and thinking in the way that a person on the higher frequency would think, you don't have to settle. Anything is possible. Anything is possible. So I'll give you an example. In my coaching, like I said, we cover the history extensively because I want to know what level you reside on. Everything, that you've lived thus far. And then, and only then, we get to kind of like dismantle your belief system and put it back together in a way that is going to benefit you. But the reality of things, right? Unless you know what you're working with, you don't know what to change, right? If you're looking at a painting you painted and you just say, well, it doesn't really matter, I just want to like paint over it and this and that. No, the analogy is that you need to look at that fucking ugly painting or not so great painting and say, wow, so now I know like what I've done and now I understand my mindset, and discard that fucking canvas and start brand new. You don't get to paint over. You need to understand what you created thus far so that you can start anew and create something different. So the new reality, it looks like something, it feels like something, it smells like something. There's senses associated with this reality. You may be wearing different clothes, okay? You may be having different friends, different acquaintances, different business partners, right? You may be, investing your money differently and this and that, creating a new business. So you really need to compose that picture and tap into it on a daily basis. This is where meditation comes in. I meditate daily, and the way meditation truly works is with purpose. You really need to be purposeful with your meditations, not just, sit in lotus pose for hours on end. So the new reality comes with a new personality, essentially. This is towards the end of my coaching, we create your new personality. But again, you don't get to create something new until you understand what you've created thus far. Because, and this is why, because if you don't do that, you might create that again. And that's not fun. You've already been there. You've already done that. You just want to have a permanent change. Am I right or am I wrong? I'm right. I'm always right. So the idea is to permanently abandon that identity associated with the reality you don't prefer. Okay, are you going to change absolutely everything? No, but there are certain parts that you really could, improve a whole lot and take on that new identity and really invest in it. But it happens in stages. It would be rather weird, in my opinion, if like overnight, some kind of thing happened to you and now you act like a different person. It might not stick. You really need to go through what works and what doesn't. So step by step, you're going to get to know what really you want to change, what kinds of things. And now that you're tapping into that reality, you're changing it in your mind. You change it with your mind. And then the 3D version appears on that frequency. Because there's a difference between, for example, a frequency of being desperate and being inspired. So you can't come with the old identity and try to, create some inspired creations in your life. it's not on the same frequency. It's never going to work. You need to come from inspiration. You need to really become that person who resides most of the time in the mode of inspiration and really thrives on that. Because when you follow your intuition, you always win. You always win. But right now, that might not be your modus operandi. It may be that you're just kind of like scared and doing things a certain way because that somehow works, but it doesn't really work. It's dysfunctional. And you don't see your way up to the next level. The other thing I was going to say is that no one has free will in your reality. They don't have a choice in this matter. Okay, so if it's a SP related situation, whether that's your lover or your husband or business partner or whomever, you're the only one to change. That SP, specific person, cannot change until you change. Or you change or you change them in your mind. You really need to be deliberate about these creations. The new version of SP resides on a new frequency, together with all the goodies that you really want. And so if it's your SP you're trying to, manifest, and everything else is just about beautiful in your life, well, then tap into that reality with imagination of what that would look like. The kind of scenarios you would have between you and them, the kind of conversations, the new character of theirs, how do they behave with you? The entire creation happens in your mind, right? I just want to stress this. You don't run around, you don't beg, you don't plead, you don't do any of that fucking shit. That's for amateurs who don't understand how creation works. You just sit in the middle of your universe, like the golden Buddha that you are, and make decisions. Okay, I want to manifest this. I want to create this. I want my SP to come back. I want them to be like this, like that, and like that. And that's all you got to do. And then it just shows up. Parenthesis here, of course, you know what I'm going to say, provided you've done the work on yourself. It really does work like magic. It's not an exaggeration. If you attune your being to a new frequency, everything just comes to you. You'll get the text. You open your phone, the email is there. You get the money, either it's in the mail. I get money in the mail all the time. Like, I don't even know where it comes from sometimes. If I want to receive a text from some person, it doesn't have to be, my romantic partner. It could be a business associate or a friend or this and that. I just send out a mental, correspondence to them and say, oh, I wonder how they are. And then here they are, they're on my phone. Or there's some business dealing and I'm like, well, I wonder how that was going. And I mean, I just had this thought yesterday night, in fact, and today I got an email about something resolved in my favor. And so it goes. You create this whole reality with your mental images, with your mental capacity. So there's, like people who really try hard really don't understand that all they have to be is that best version of themselves. And then the things are just flowing to you like river flows. You don't have to try, you just be who you want to be and follow your intuitive nudges. And again, it doesn't really mean that once in a while, right, you'll fall off the proverbial wagon of manifestation and of being like in the center of your creation. Some people are challenging, some people, whatever, some circumstances are challenging, this and that. Excuse me. But if you just, deal with a situation or a person like that, and you just remind yourself, you know what? I know that I'm in control. And I know how to create this magic. I've done it before so many different times. And certainly I have, and loads of my clients have. But if you, excuse me, if you really don't get it, how it is that you create, if it's still difficult for you to understand, then it's just you're gonna have to continue working on yourself. And sometimes some people come back to me for a refresher course in my coaching and this and that, and then I eventually, I get them to the point where it really clicks in, and they have this aha moment. They say, oh no, now I really understand what you've been telling me all this time before. And so once it does click in, no matter what's happening around you, you say, no, I know how to change this. Yeah, no problem. As a human being, you go through certain situations, you have certain reactions, but then you turn it on its head and you say, no, excuse me, I'm going to have the outcome that I want anyway. But if you start reacting to something that happened and continue reacting to that, and you just keep on going with the premise like, well, I'm back to square one, and this is just whatever, it's going to continue this way, then you don't understand yet. You can make that decision that it's going to be like this and react. Even reacting is a decision, a prolonged reaction. Or you can make the decision to say, okay, I'm going to go meditate. I'm going to go cook something really delicious. I'm going to go watch something funny. I'm going to, go back to my, visualization. I'm going to imagine what my life actually will look like once I manifest it. Because it already is. This parallel reality, this new frequency, once you visualize it, even before you visualize it, it does exist. It just is like that. It's a parallel reality that you do not yet see because it hasn't been fleshed out with the frequency. If you have the frequency, if you emit that frequency, it will suddenly start, like even if some shitty thing happened and you change your frequency, all of a sudden that shitty shit starts kind of like transforming into something wonderful. But you have to acknowledge that you manifested something shitty, right? In order to learn from it, and in order to say, well, this is shit, so now I'm going to transform it. If you really know how to do this, you can change things almost instantaneously. Within a day, for sure, I've done this. But if it's a new concept to you, you have to get acclimated to what that world feels like for you, that new parallel reality, and keep tapping into it until it becomes so familiar that even if something shitty happens, you just you shrug it off and you say, please, I know what my world really looks like. It's inside of me and I'm emitting it right now, and I know how to change this situation. So emit a new frequency and change your world and download that new reality. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, ciao, ciao.